All right. Welcome again to another episode of the S.E.M podcast. My name is Zack Hewlett.
I'm Jack Bryce, and today we're joined by Scott McAndrews.
Scott McAndrews, my friend. My goodness. It's good to see you. How are you, man?
Oh man, I'm doing good, but staying busy.
All right. Well, that's a good segue. So tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your lead up into serving in Scotland, and we can kind of start from there.
Okay, well, I started out, most of my life really kind of looking up to my dad. My dad served a mission in Alberta, Canada, on Indian reservations, and so that kind of interests me of the whole being around with Native Americans and him teaching me about like kind of like how he served his mission. And then my older brothers, they all went on missions. My older brother went to Singapore, Malaysia, and then my other brother went to San Antonio, Texas. And so leading up to, I was working for my dad in construction, doing lath and plastering, and I I was anticipating on serving, and I put my papers in a while, and so I didn't really get anything yet. And then I was coming back from Sacramento uh, with a group of my dad's workers were all from Mexico, and so going into it, I was thinking to myself, man, I'm gonna go to Mexico. I'm like, I've been working around, people from Mexico my whole like construction life. So I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna go to Mexico, or I'll probably end up serving in the States because I don't think I'll ever like go anywhere overseas. I just didn't like hit me until my mission call came. My dad called me on my way back. I was driving a flatbed truck, and so I was driving in traffic, and my dad goes, "Hey, guess what came?" I go, "Mission call?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "We'll be waiting here until you get here." And so imagine the nervousness, the excitement that I was feeling driving almost 2 hours home, trying to figure out, praying in my head, like, where am I gonna go? I didn't it didn't wasn't like really a thing. Like, well, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a call to, oversee something. Get home, I'm like is about as dirty as it can get working construction. I didn't take a shower. I had concrete, mix in my hair. I was, everything all over my hands. And so like, well, can I wash up real quick? My dad goes, "No, we've been waiting for 2 hours." He goes, "You can sit down and you can open your mission call." And so a little bit about my dad. My dad has been, a fantastic member of the church for his whole life. He's served in the stake presidency, served in, as a bishop, Bishop Rick, and then ended up while I saw my mission, got called into the Fresno, California mission. And he served, I want to say, with about 6 mission presidents. And before every mission call that any of my brothers ever got, my dad has always told them before they even opened their papers where they were going to go. And every single one of them, he got on the head where they were going. And so my dad, before I even opened my papers, he goes, "You're going to go to Scotland." Of course, I'm sitting there laughing. I'm like, yeah, whatever. There's no way I'm going to be going to Scotland. I mean, that would be cool. I'm like, McAndrews, my first name's Scott. I'm like, nah, that's not going to happen. And I opened my papers and started reading, and just a rush of emotions for some reason, just started coming in. Like I didn't even see where I was going yet. I hadn't even gotten to that point. My eyes were all blurry at that point, so I didn't even know where I'm going. And then when it came that I would serve, and of course, like you said, Bryce, you pronounced it all wrong. I did the same thing. I said Scotland, Edinburgh. Of course, it's Edinburgh.
We all did that. I can assure you, the Americans all did that anyway.
No, and so I'm sitting there with a complete shock, and my mom and dad are so happy. They're screaming, they're laughing. Everyone, my family's all there, so they're all screaming, laughing. I have, my sister that lives in think she had moved up to Sacramento. She couldn't be there at the time, but she was on the phone and she was all happy and screaming. Here I'm sitting there, just like just complete shock. And then I continue reading to read that I'm not going to the Provo MTC. I'm going I'm going to England to the MTC. And so where I'm reading this and I read it, and then all of a sudden all the noise just drops. It's like, you're going where? To the MTC? And they're like, well, guess we're not gonna drop you off. And because it's always been a tradition in my family to bring, as a family, whoever served the mission to the MTC in Provo and have that whole experience. And so that wasn't the case. My mom and dad asked me, well, what do you want to do before you go on your mission? And I said, oh, I want to go back to Utah. I want to go through the Salt Lake Temple. And so my mom and dad, just a special trip just with me. We spent about 4 or 5 days in Salt Lake and around there, just doing, just the things that we used to do, going as a family, going back there. And so weeks coming into serving, obviously you had to get all that stuff ready, get all the passport and all the other stuff you had to get ready. And it didn't hit me until that morning that, I was leaving for 2 years and I was going to be gone. And they gave me the option in my papers, the travel division of the church basically said, hey, you get to choose. You can go out of your local airport here in Modesto, or you can fly out of Sacramento or Oakland. And I said, I just want to fly out of Modesto because I figured I'd come back, to that airport. It's only about a 15-minute drive. Well, I wish I would have spent a little bit longer that morning, because as soon as I got to the airport, I boarded, and my dad gave me some wise word of counsel, and they sent me off. And it was literally a partition to the door going out to the little double prop airplane to get me over in the Oakland airport to fly out to Chicago.
Oh man.
And, I waved goodbye, got on the airplane, and they were standing on the fence line and they were waving. My mom was bawling. I was holding it back because I was sitting next to like this big old dude, and I'm just like, I didn't want to cry.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much leading up into it. But yeah, going into it, like I didn't like really know that my family genealogy going into it, and later on we'll get into that because that kind of plays into a lot of parts of like areas I served in. But it was just neat, and I got the joke before I left, and I gave my farewell talk. Everyone was all, Scott's going to Scotland. That's awesome. But yeah, no, that was all leading up into it.
And then
So-
nobody called you Scott for 2 years.
No, unless and then they would. But no, yeah, no, not for 2 years, and then that whole MTC experience was something else too, because as you both experienced, it was a melting pot of nationalities from around the world that were there, and I made some pretty good friends that I still talk to through, luckily, social media. I didn't even know what social media was until I got back, but
All right.
it's awesome being able to connect, even like with you, Zack, and you yourself, Bryce. Jack. It's great because now I can talk to both sides, both sides of the road, as far as people I served around, people I served with, and even lovely people of Scotland that I still love to this day. They're like family to me.
So when did you enter the MTC?
I entered the MTC in October of 2003. I believe it was towards the end of the month, or I want to say I left right before Halloween. And yeah, that was an experience in itself leaving at that time. But yeah, October 2003.
So from California right into the winter of Scotland.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit after the mission. Catch us up on what you've been up to since you got home.
Well, it's been. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and this is a podcast, and I'll get personal. I don't mind. I got back. I was around for a few years, just doing school. I started out doing some fire science classes, going to the local college here, and a friend of mine interested me in law enforcement, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something, that people don't hate. And I was thinking about other things that I was wanting to do. Fire science was just a starter class for me to kind of get into college and to get like some stuff out of the way. I really wanted to go into radiology, but that didn't end up happening. I ended up my friend, one of my best friends I grew up with, talked me into going into law enforcement. I worked for before that. I worked for a McDonald's distributor that distributes, and they have a distributing center out in Utah. It's called Martin Brower. I actually worked for them for about a year, just counting product. It was a job to get me through, but I got myself into the police academy. I worked Monday through Thursday. Well, I worked to the academy Monday through Thursday, and I went to work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was oftentimes on Sunday to go to church, and then go to the police academy. And I did that for 6 months that way. That was about almost 1,000 hours of training that I received through a local police academy here. Got hired on with a county here, Tuolumne County Sheriff's Department. It's kind of near Yosemite National Park. I've been with them ever since for about 15 years. Absolutely love it. I'm not on patrol. Actually, I work in the jail. I'm a training officer. I'm on the honor guard, which one of the photos I sent you, Zack, that was that's me in my honor guard uniform that we literally just got, and I go to basically all the funerals throughout California for law enforcement. And I'm also I just got certified as a less lethal instructor, where I teach all the deputies throughout the department on how the policies and everything about shooting a 40 mil grenade launcher and beanbag guns. And in that time of my career, I got married. I was married for about 6 years, almost 6 years. I had 2 daughters. They're 9 and soon to be 9, and the other one just turned 5. Lucy and Athena. The loves of my life. I love them to death, and they're just they keep me busy when I have time off to see them. But in that time, I did get divorced, which was a very hard time for me because I never really imagined that I would be in that situation of being divorced. And I've equally been divorced for about 6 years. I've been single for quite some time now. I haven't really had the opportunity to meet the person that that I'm supposed to be with, but I know my Heavenly Father's got someone for me out there. I just need to find them. And then I've had some health scares over the last 3 years, unfortunately. I got diagnosed about 3 years ago with type 1 diabetes and neuropathy, and literally almost died twice in the 3 years. And just recently, the last 2 weeks, I actually had a diabetic seizure that I recovered from in a matter of literally an hour. My blood sugar got too low, which doctors were kind of shocked the way it went because it shouldn't have dropped that low, but it did. And obviously, I've had a lot of time to reflect on that last 3 years of how my Heavenly Father has kept me around for some reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's to raise my children and to keep in mind everything that I'm doing, but it's obviously preserving me for a reason, and I've recognized that a lot. But other than that, I've literally work keeps me busy. I've traveled a little bit here and there, not to where I literally like to be in Scotland. I'm working on that. I've been trying to get back for years, but it's just nothing's worked out. And so I really try to get back there. I plan on going probably next year for a couple weeks. That's what my plan is. I've been saving my money and saving up things to just go and to do something for myself, because I don't do anything for myself. I tend to do everything for my kids, and I'm last. And I try to be the best father that I can be for my kids. My ex-wife ended up leaving the church, and so it's been my responsibility to as a dad and priesthood leader to really make sure that they have the church in their life, and that's been my goal. But other than that, just been I had a couple grandparents pass away in the past several years, and other than that, it's just been I work a lot. Like lately, I've been working anywhere between 24 to 40 hours of overtime a pay period. And
Wow.
it's keeping me busy. It's not what I really like to be doing, but I still get to talk to my kids every night. Still get to have that relationship with them, and still be able to keep a job and stay healthy is what my goal's been. And I have been staying healthy. It's just been a couple scares over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Well,
been tough. It's been a tough thing because my testimony has been really shaken over the years. Not in a way that I've left the church or anything like that. I've had thoughts of it, obviously, but like everyone that goes through stuff like that goes through. But my dad has kept me like really strong, and so has my mom. They've really kind of like keeping me in check with everything that I've experienced over my life, especially even on my mission. But yeah,
well, thanks for sharing all that. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk to us with that kind of schedule.
no, this is literally I was at training today. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, oh, I'm off in time. But it was only one of those 8-hour training days where I was up at 8. Well, got to work at 8 and then got off at 5 and was able to eat dinner before I talked to you guys. And I was like I really want to talk because I really want to share everything and really want to see you guys that I haven't seen in forever, because I know I served around you guys a few times on my
Mhm.
mission. So
Yeah, I think you and I served around each other for like a good year or more of the mission.
yeah,
Never companions, but in the same district or zone for a lot of
I
it.
remember
So
you really like up in Peter. Like that was like I remember with Elder Mace, the one that I served with. I remember us going to, like you were saying, like it just brought it flooded back a bunch of memories. We talked about Slane's Castle. I think it was you, and I can't remember who you were serving with at the time. I don't know if it was you, Zack, but I just remember going there on our P day and spending a whole bunch of time out there, even going in that little dungeon in Slane's Castle.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
was something I just remember that as like a thing that I just like I cherished because it was just a great time.
yeah, it was pretty cool. So let's jump into it now. The mission. Give
Yep.
us the rundown of where you served and who you served with,
Oh man.
if you can recall it all.
Well, I do remember the mission home. That was one thing. I remember getting in the mission home. Well, first I'll just start at the train station because that was an experience in itself. So I drove with everyone. Oh, not drove, but I rode a train all the way up. Obviously, like everyone did from the MPC, and I don't know if you ever guys remember Elder Verdan.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He was the one person that like he always cracked me up. Just his personality and his little ticks that he had. But like he was the first person to introduce me to Toblerone chocolate. And
Oh.
he gave me a Toblerone on the train, and that was we ended up having a good relationship after that, and it was just a fun train ride all the way up. We just had a blast, and just with everyone that I served with. Then got to the train station. Old President and Sister Vriens met me there, and of course, my shock, I'm just like I think most people that served in the United States were just shocked because I mean I know I was just a whole other country. Only other place I ever been to was Ensenada, Mexico at the time. That was it. That was
Wow.
foreign. And so got there and they introduced themselves, and as everyone that served under them, they were just the greatest people. I love them. And so we hopped in the vans from the train station, and we got to the mission home, and I met my trainer, Elder Briner, from Idaho. Now he looks totally unrecognizable. He's got a beard, it's down to probably the mid chest, and he looks like some guy that looks like a little out in the backwoods. Served with him. If I want to remember, I was trying to find my journal. I couldn't find it. It was with my T-book, which I have right here in front of me, but I couldn't find it. I have all my companions listed. But I served with him, I want to say, for about 6 weeks. And then I got Elder Lehman, and I served in Kilwinning with both of them. And I served there with them in Kilwinning for, I want to say, about 12 weeks. Then Elder Lehman was quite funny to listen to talk. He had his, it was funny. He would hum while he ate. So that was it was a fun thing to kind of listen to, but got to love him as well.
Did he have a particular tune he hummed?
You know, I can't remember that. He probably did, and you probably remember something, but
Elder Lehman, come on and tell us what the tune is that you're humming.
You can come on and hum it.
That's right. No, it was fun though. Then after that, I went to Kirkintilloch. Served with Elder Davis at first. I don't know if you remember Clark Davis, but so I got into the mission field, and I didn't know very much. He got in there, and he's Elder Davis had a very different personality that I had to get used to. Very just outgoing, just very just like energetic. Well, the first thing he ever told me, he goes, we start talking about family life and everything. He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm related to President Monson." I'm like, "Oh well, whatever." I was like, any missionary is going to say that. Everyone's going to say that. He goes, "No, I really am. I'm his great grandson." I go, "Yeah, whatever." He pulls out the old tape recorder, and he goes, "No, listen." He spoke at my farewell, and sure as heck, he pulls out that tape recorder, and he goes, all I hear is President Monson's voice, and he goes, "Elder Davis." And like from then, I'm just like, what the heck? Like, so I'm serving with Elder Monson's great grandson. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And so we got to talking a lot about President Monson and just life living around him, and so that was a great time serving with him. I learned a lot from him, and that area was a different area. We met in a Catholic school. It was a branch, and we were in that. I was in that branch for quite some time. I served with him, and then Elder Trainer. Served with Elder Trainer for quite some time, and then trying to think now. After that, it was went to I want to say it was Greenock. Was it Greenock afterwards? It was Dumbarton or Greenock. I want to say it was Dumbarton. So then I went to Greenock after that. But then I went up to Dumbarton. I was in that Glasgow Triangle that everyone talks about, I swear, for most of my mission. I loved it, though. Don't get me wrong, the Glaswegians or something else. But went up to Dumbarton, served up there for 6 months. And that area I really grew to love a lot, because I think it was because I spent so much time there, but I think it was for other reasons other than that. I just think I just grew a great relationship with a lot of people there, and I served there again for 6 months. I served with Elder Deaton. I served with oh geez, I'm trying to remember everyone I served with. I have it all in my book. Let me see if I have it here. But
yeah, feel free to reference. We're not judging.
I'm trying to reference. I think I served there with Elder Deaton for most of it. I want to say for a good 4 months with Elder Deaton. And then before that, I feel bad I don't remember. I want to say Elder Lee. I served with as well in Dumbarton. He was from Roy, Utah. Served with Elder Lee, but for most of that, I served with Elder Deaton. And do you guys remember Elder Deaton?
I don't. I think I was in your district with you because I was in Cumbernauld at that time.
There were in that district, but he was at first I'm like, oh man, I'm like, and Elder Deaton, if you're watching this, I apologize, but I love you, I really do. And at first I was just like, because he was all into like Dungeons and Dragons and all this like nerdy stuff, and I wasn't into that kind of stuff. I was into hunting. I was into like cars. I was into all that kind of stuff. But he humbled me a lot on my mission in ways that I can't really put into words. We tracted, we chapped on doors. I can't tell you how long, but that was the first area that I regretted ever buying a London fog jacket. That's what they told you to buy. I bought one. Well, let alone we were chapping one day down this one road, and we chapped on this one door, and it's just, and you guys know how Scotland rain is. It was sunshine that day. I brought my jacket, and it saw these black clouds. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna pour, and it sure did. It downpoured like a monsoon, and I was wearing that stupid London fog jacket, and I got drenched. I mean, I felt like I had another 50 pounds on my back with that jacket on. I took that jacket off. I took my suit jacket off. I'm like, you know what? I'm not wearing this. I'm like, tomorrow I am buying a just plain rain jacket.
That's so funny.
I ditched my London fog as well for the same reason. Weighs like 200 pounds when it gets wet.
Oh my gosh, I tell you, it was crazy. And so just kind of going into that little part of my mission, that day that it was raining, this guy invited us into his home. And we're like, oh, sweet, we're getting a teaching opportunity. Well, as most people know, people in Scotland they're either sober or they're not sober. But we went to this guy's home, and I, not knowing, really been around people that really drink a whole lot, not knowing this guy was just thrashed.
Oh,
well,
no.
he invited in. He was a high-ranking Mason. He's showing us all this stuff to us, and we're just like, is he supposed to be showing us this stuff? And he's going into all this stuff about Masons, and I'm just like, I lean over to my companion and go, we need to get out of here. I don't know how we got out of here. And we got out of there and everything, but it just, that introduced me to everything. Going back, though, I don't mean to skip back, but going back to my first area, Elder Vriens really introduced me to the Scotland life. Our ward mission leader, Brother Cameron, he brought me over to his house, his family's house, and I was like literally like this, listening to him speak. He was speaking legit Scottish, and everyone that served knows how that is. He's talking a mile a minute, talking about every bit of slang Scot that you can speak. And I'm just like, I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry. This California doesn't understand. And Elder Briner's over here just busting up laughing the entire time. He goes, you'll get it, Elder. Just wait. So, forward back. I totally forgot to say that. But fast forward.
We all had that experience. I can assure you that.
Yeah, fast forwarding again, though. After Dumbarton served in Greenock, with Elder Brown, Zack Brown. Served with him for, I want to say it was 6 weeks. And I love that guy. We had some struggles, but we got along, and we had our moments where we just did not get along. But he showed me a different side of missionary work that I really didn't understand. And that was literally about loving the people and getting a relationship with them. We mostly spent our time around members there, but we really had to understand. After I left, I had a really good understanding um, of the love of the people and how much they love us. There was a family there, the Mitchells, um, where she had a son and a daughter and another son. One of the sons had some special needs, but we went over there weekly. She gave us dinner. She took us places. She did lots of things with us. But I grew a huge love for her name was Carol Mitchell, and I absolutely love that lady. That lady was you know was a giant in my eyes with how she was dealing with life and still going to church and doing all those things. But and so a little into Greenock. This is a little interesting story that I didn't even know before I left my mission. I didn't even know any of this. When I got back from my mission, I read some genealogy that my grandparents had put out for us. Well, in the book there were some stories, some journal entries from some ancestors of mine. Well, one of my ancestors he was part of the organization of the church in Scotland, and was the first branch president when it was organized in Greenock.
Wow.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
the journal entry goes on to say that he constantly had members of the Quorum of 12 into his home. For example, Orson Pratt was in his home, and other apostles were in his home at time over the years that he ended up helping organize a church in the Greenock area. And I didn't know any of that when I was there. And then when I read that, like, again, when everyone says something about Scotland, or a companion says something about Scotland, the emotions start rushing back in. But I'll tell you what, though, when I read that, I felt the Spirit confirm everything that I did in Scotland was for the right reasons. I did what I needed to do. But then finding that out, I just started crying without even knowing I was crying. And I didn't realize why I was crying until I read it again, of that, the fact that my ancestor helped organize the church, help at least organize a church in Scotland. And that was just, I didn't understand why I was there for such a short period of time in Greenock. But then finding that out later, I just was so proud of my ancestors. Just so proud that I was able to say that I served there.
That's really cool.
But it was just something that I still hold on to this day as something really special.
Yeah, that's incredibly special. You give consideration to the likelihood of you serving there, and it's very small likelihood, but you were there for a short period of time, clearly for that reason. So that's a pretty cool connection you made.
Yeah, and there was some other stuff that, like, my ancestors were there. Originally, I am Irish, but a lot of my family does come from Scotland as well. And so, I mean, that was just a really neat kind of thing to really experience. And then after that, I went to good old Aberdeen. That place was fun. I literally had a lot of fun there. I served with Elder Mace there, for the most part. Actually, no, I did the whole time I was there. And the times I had there was just interesting, especially tracking downtown Aberdeen and tracking the streets of Aberdeen. I mean, it was an interesting kind of factor to just played into the fact of serving up there. And then again, going back into doing going up to Peterhead, that was just interesting in itself. It's just how, like you guys were talking about, how the North Sea is, and how that can just be just an experience in itself.
Yeah,
I've listened to down from Shetland, elders come down from Shetland on the ferry, and how much of a ride that is on that ferry. They don't get to go on a plane, and at times I'm just like, it'd be fun to serve on an island. But I'm thinking to myself, no, that wouldn't be. but that was a lot of fun because just to kind of really realize, certain things are like leaning into the gale winds and being able to have your body being held up by the gale winds. That was always a fun time on our mission.
Yep.
Even spending on the west coast or the east coast of Scotland, I mean, it was fun regardless of where you did it. But then learning about all the history going back and forth between both sides of Scotland and how the accents changed and how people's just total demeanors is a whole different demeanor. And then I believe it was I want to say it was Sister Breach that I served around up there, up in the Brigadon Sisters at the time. I can't remember her companion at the time, but served up there for about 6 weeks, and then got transferred down to Livingston. And actually, no, I think I served with Elder Leet in Livingston, and then Elder Christopherson. I served with both of them, and no, it was just Elder Christopherson in Livingston. And I was again only there for a short time, and that was where I experienced my first baptism. And I don't really, you see, I don't really call it my baptism because I came into that area after they were all taught. And the reason why I don't say it's mine is because I didn't do all the work. I don't take credit for that. I'm not, I know there were some missionaries in the mission that would take credit for work that other missionaries would do and say they did all the work and all the other stuff. But later on, talking to them, their names were Keith and Rose Oliphant. I remember their names and I still keep in contact with them. I literally actually video chat them maybe every few months to see how they're doing.
That's awesome.
And it's interesting because I came in, I did the basically new member discussions with them. I didn't really do any of the discussions. I just prepared them to get baptized. Elder Christopherson did the baptisms, and I didn't really have anything to do with anything else other than teaching the new member discussions. Didn't confirm the members of the church or anything. I watched all that. But later on, they played a key part in a lot of my mission of why I ended up where I was in certain spots in my mission. They even told me at one point that they really appreciated my testimony and the way that I didn't take credit for that part of it, in the sense that they weren't really looking at it that way. They were just glad that I was there to witness them becoming members of the church. Their daughter, one of their daughters, I ended up changing her demeanor of how she thought of the church. When I first got there, their daughter was very anti anything to do with the church, elders, anything. Well, I told her, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm like, if you do me a favor, I'm like, if I can just cook you like a meal, and then we can just talk over a meal. Let me cook you a meal, and then if you want to talk to us afterwards, then that's fine. If you don't, then I understand either way. And Elder Christoph, she's not going to talk to you. She's just very bitter. Well, I just remember that I cooked the thing of lasagna. I just remember my mom's recipe, so I cooked some lasagna. And she goes, "You cooked this?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Where'd you learn to cook?" And she just was like, her whole attitude, like, first time I ever see her smile or anything, she just always just had this bitter face on her. And man, I gotta change that. I gotta have her change the way that she thinks of us. And I didn't. Every time that she was over there, I never talked about church. I always talked about her, asked how she was doing, and everything like that. But my relationship with her and even my companion and I changed because afterwards she just was like, didn't really say she was glad to see us, but I would kind of have that banter with her that I could have with her in a way, as just saying, I'm like, oh, well, we'll leave. I'm like, we don't want to offend you type thing. And she just like have a loud laugh, a smirk. And she goes, no, you guys can stay. Come on in. But don't know if anything ever happened from it. I don't think it did because I think I talked to Keith and Rose about it, a while back. And she said, man, I should never join. But I think it changed her opinion of the church and how she felt. So I think she felt for the longest time that we were stealing her mom and dad from her.
Yeah.
Cool fact though about Keith and Rose is they are still active in the church and they go down once a month to the Preston Temple and they work in a temple.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
Don't mean
That's
to get emotional
incredible.
about that, but like you guys were talking about last podcast, that it was all about at first, like you hear about all these missionaries baptizing all these people, and how it was a numbers game to some of these elders and some of these sisters. But in all reality, looking back on it, that was the greatest blessing in my life, besides my children, to know years later that they are still active in the church and that they are still going to the temple and working in the temple. To me, that is by far the greatest blessing I ever received from my mission, is to knowing that no matter the fact that I baptized them or not, that I was there, that I helped. In a sense, they are still active. I mean, they're not in the best health condition either, but they still make it down there. And I mean, and to know that, I mean, we're getting the temple where I live right now. That's going to be about a 15-minute drive away. It just was announced in this last general conference in Modesto. It's going to be a few years until that is built, but right now I still go to the Oakland Temple, which is about an hour and 45 minutes away. But you both know how long it is with the train ride to get down to Preston from Edinburgh. That's what, like a 4-hour, 6-hour train ride down to Preston? But they still do it.
Yeah.
I was asleep, so I don't remember.
I slept some of the way too, but but to know that fact that they travel that far every month, I mean, just to show you how strong their testimony really is in the gospel.
It's a huge sacrifice for them. That's awesome.
But then after that, I went to. So I went to. It was kind of a weird transfer. I got transferred. They're like, President Pring goes, Elder. He goes, I need to send you somewhere. You're only going to be there for a few weeks, but I'm going to send you with a companionship. You're going to be 3 of you guys. And I'm like, well, where am I going? He goes, you're going to go to Knightswood. I'm like, where is Knightswood? Not knowing where it is, I'm like, do you know where Knightswood is? Elder Christopher goes, I think it's in Glasgow. And it is. It's northern part of Glasgow. It's one of those suburbs of Glasgow. Served with Elder Tovey and Elder Littlefield there for I think it was only like 3 weeks. I went into their companionship for about 3 weeks, and then I think something I want to say that area got shut down or whatever. And I think it got whitewashed after that. That was that was a different kind of a companionship, because both those guys are big guys, and they were just. Elder Tovey had this a different type of like a way of like talking. So he was, I want to say he was just right outside London. But served with them for 3 weeks. Then didn't go very far. Then I went over to Motherwell. So this is a hop across the pond, I guess, we want to say. Served with who did I? So I went to that companionship because his companion, I want to say it was Elder Christensen, ended up having to leave. He had some health issue or something. And I ended up going into that area with Elder McClure for a little while. Served with him for a good while. And then I ended up finishing my mission in Paisley. And served with Elder Rhodes and Elder, I'm referencing again, On the road to Elder Reed.
I'll read.
Y'all want to check? This is my tea book. It
There
is
you go.
mostly filled. I mean, pictures and whatnot of everyone, as you guys probably both have too.
I have a confession. I did not do a tea book.
Oh, Elder Hewlett.
I don't know why. I didn't like the concept of having to chase a book down between all that stuff. So I just said, you know what, I'm out. You know, here's my email. If you want to send me a note, send me a note.
Most of my entries were all people that I served with or served around. I tried to get some of the assistants that I served around. I didn't get it, but like Elder Delabelle and Elder Anderson that his companion was. Those guys, I love those guys to death. I thought they were just. Those were the first assistants I saw when I came into the mission, and I just thought they were just like these spiritual giants, which they were.
Right.
But I mean, most of my mission, like, there was a part of my mission when I first got in my first area. So a little bit about my home mission. When I first got my mission, I was homesick. I'm not gonna lie. I was bad. And my dad, I don't know if you guys did too, but in most of my areas, when we got our post, like, we had every companionship that I had, we had to have something next to that flap to let us know we had mail. Because like I was like a thing, man. Like as soon as that mail came, I was like, oh man. I'm like, I got something coming. And then when emails came, it was like nothing came. I'm like, man, I won't go back to getting letters because like getting emails sucks. But I got a letter from my dad, and my mom and dad kept all my letters, and I kept all theirs that I received. Like I every now and then, when like I want to like reflect, I go back and read some of those letters. There was one letter that my dad sent me that really kind of put things into perspective. You guys remember Elder Hinckley when he was on his mission in England? How his dad basically gave him a rebuking letter, told him to lose yourself in the work and get to work.
Yep.
Dad pretty much gave the same letter and referenced that same thing. Dad basically said, he goes, Scott, he goes, we'll all be here when you get back. He goes, and if we're not, he goes, the Lord's going to provide a way for you to get through those hard times. He goes, but your focus right now needs to be on those people of Scotland. They're waiting to hear from you, and they're waiting to meet you. He goes, you need to knock it off and start studying and start getting to work. He goes, those 2 years are going to go by quicker than you think. And he goes, you're going to regret every moment if you don't start getting to work. And I was like, being the teenager I was at the time, I'm just like, what the heck? I thought you were like going to say something to me like, hey, you know what? If you need to, to talk to us, let the Mr. President know, or do something. Well, no, my dad said that. Well, literally, my dad sent me a letter. It was literally about like that much writing in it. That's all he said. He goes, "I love you, Scott. Because I love you as my son. I love you as a missionary. You'll do great. Just lose yourself in the work." He goes, "Everything else will just come." And he said, "I love you." And since then, chapping on doors, the rain, the wind, the rejection that we got time in and time out of, like, especially on Saturdays, of course you really found out on Saturdays you do not knock on doors on Saturdays, especially in Glasgow, especially if the Celtics or the Rangers were playing. You definitely got a rebuke out there on your doorstep. But and then like a lot of stuff prepared me for what I'm doing now. And when I was with Elder Trainer in Kirkintilloch, just a little bit tidbit. We both got attacked at a bus stop by a bunch of Neds. And I know you guys probably haven't heard that
Oh
term.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the term. I'm waiting for the story on being attacked. Here we go. Buckle up, baby.
So we just got out of teaching a discussion to a family of like five children and a mom. We ended up taking the bus that night because the member that came over with us to teach had to go back, meet to his house afterwards. And so we go out. It's late. It's we got time to get back to our flat. But we're just standing there, just minding our own business. We weren't even looking over in their direction at all. There was about a group of 6 of them. And of course, I mean, you know how Neds are. They go, "How'd I eat, Paul?" I go, "Hiya, what's going on?" And they go, "What?" They go, "What you looking at?" I go, "We're not looking at anything, man. We'll just, we're just waiting for the bus." About that, we just ignore them. And they go, "Hey, Paul, you want some Bucky?" And we're like, "No, we're good. I don't know Bucky." And so they just continue to banner and banner and banner, and we lose sight of them. We didn't even pay attention to them. So we lose all contact. And so the next thing I know, I had this this bad feeling. And as soon as I had that bad feeling, this like pressure and pain on the back of my head came. I go, "Ow!" I looked back. One of the Neds hit me with the Buck Bass bottle.
Dang.
And
Oh my
at
gosh.
that time, there's no bus coming. We're waiting for this bus. And we're just like, and my companion, El Chaney, he's freaking out. He's like, he's in shock. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what to do. And all 6 of them are chasing us. And we're just, I mean, we're doing ring around the rosy around this street. There's a bus stop on the side of the road. There's another bus stop on the other side of the road. And we're just waiting. Well, we felt like an hour. It was really probably like maybe a few minutes. And double decker bus comes, and we're waving. We're like, "Well, stop!" And wouldn't stop. I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, "Well, this is my demise. This is the end. I'm gonna die by a Buck Bass bottle." And finally, the bus finally stops. My companion is just screaming at the bus driver. He's just, "Stop! We're being attacked!" And finally, the bus stops, and my companion gets on the phone to 999, call the police and call an ambulance, because I don't know the extent of my injuries at the time. I just know I'm bleeding a little bit. I just don't know the extent of it. I just know I got knocked. Well, we sit on the bus for probably about 15 minutes until the police and the ambulance gets there. My companion and I take an ambulance ride to the Royal Hospital, and just right outside of Kirkintilloch. And companion's talking to the mission president, President Vriens, and gets at the hospital. President Vriens calls again and wants to talk to me. He goes, "Elder, how you doing?" I go, "Well, President," I'm like, "I'm alive. Other than my headache and a little bit of stitches in the back of my head, I'm like, I think I'm okay." And he goes, "Well," he goes, "there's no excuse. You better be back out working tomorrow." And you guys know how President Vriens was. That's just a sense of humor. Like him and Sister Vriens always worried about us, especially the stuff that we had to go through all the time, and especially with snowballs with glass being thrown at us, and all the stuff that we would have to endure. Feeling like prophets and apostles from the Book of Mormon. Stones being thrown at you. All the stuff that they had to go through, and at that point, I got to President Vriens made me call my mom and dad just because he wanted them to know that I was okay, because he had called them and told them what had happened, and he goes, "Elder, you need to call your mom and dad." He goes, "I'll give you permission to talk to them for about 20 minutes. But after that, you need to, the just an honesty thing. He goes, make sure you're only on 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, President, don't worry. I'm like, I had a talk with my dad back in Kilwinning. I'm pretty sure he'll hang up the phone before I hang up the phone. And so I call him, and it was like, oh, we're glad you're okay. My dad goes, we were just worried. I'm like, no, I'm okay. And I'm like, Dad, just letting you know, like, I'm doing good. I'm doing what I need to do in the mission. And I mean, between train rides and drunks following you on the trains and that attack and everything, like, at the end of my mission, our visas expired a week before, and it was at the time that the church wasn't going to renew the visas for a week. It was like 700. I want to say it was like I still remember the number. It was like $775 to renew the visa, and I felt like, I felt gutted because, like, I'm like, at that time, I was like, I asked President Vriens, I'm President, I'm like, I want to extend my mission. I want to do more. I'm like, it's gone by way too quick. I don't want to go home yet. And he goes, Elder, he goes, every single one of you that you came out with have all said the same thing. They all wanted to extend their missions. And I always remember that. I always consider President Vriens as my other dad, but I always remember him sitting there bawling, just saying, because if every missionary would be like all the missionaries that I have seen so far in this mission that want to extend their mission, he goes, the Lord's work would flourish and would just be more than you expect to come from this land. He goes, I have no words to express to you of how much that means to me as a mission president to know all my missionaries that I've been under all want to extend their missions. Or even missionaries that I even ended their mission are already saying they want to extend their mission. He goes, the church is very, very stern on the fact that we need to send you boys home and you need to get back to your families. And so I was about a week shy of a year, but I take a lot from everyone that I serve with, everyone that I served around. And I still remember Zack and Jack. I still remember some of the things I experienced with you guys. Even things I experienced at zone conference, district meetings with both of you that still hold a special place in my heart. Like I don't know if you guys know. I mean, you guys probably don't, but you guys have really helped me in a way over the years, especially with all I've gone through with like my divorce, my kids being pulled away from me, and going through all the stuff that I've gone through over the years, has really helped me really know that, like, the way that you guys held yourself on your missions and the way that you guys laughed and game nights. I mean, I don't know if you ever had a game night with Elder Patton, but those game nights were,
man.
And I still remember that stuff. I mean, and it was even just those small little moments where we were just missionaries in Scotland. Like, I mean, even going over to Stirling and seeing, the William Wallace Monument and seeing all that stuff, but spending time with just elders alone and sisters, and having that experience to know that, like, years from now, when we're married and have kids, thinking about back then, when we're married and have kids and all the jobs and lives, like, we'll remember all this stuff. And I'm not singling out any other missions as far as, like, the ones that were around us from the years that we served under President Vriens. But I can tell you, anyone that served under President Vriens and Sister Vriens were a special group of elders and sisters, because we got to experience a side of some gentle giants. Whenever I go back, I try to go back every year to the mission reunion. I really do. But I always, 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 always make it a point to go see President and Sister Vriens. Even before they have everybody over, I always make it a point to go see them. And he, as much as he's struggling with his memory, Sister Vriens is kind of too, but Sister Vriens is a little more sharper than him right now. I can pull up. I can. Hey, President, you remember this when you did this, and he'll just like that just pull up on his memory banks. Yeah, I remember that. Do you remember when I did this too? And he like when I was back there one time. He goes, "You remember when I picked you and your companion up one day after a zone conference, and I took you guys out to eat with the assistants?" I'm like, "Yeah, I remember that." But it's it's not even just about the memories, but it's we were a chosen group of guys and sisters to serve in that land. Like I don't think we all really understand it now that it's a combined mission with Ireland. Um, when it was just Scotland, like it was a very special place, regardless of the fact that you're in a medieval country that has got so much history, that's got all these castles and ruins everywhere. Yeah, it's all fun and all, but when you start coming back from a mission and you start talking like the people, and you start like reminiscing of certain things that like only people that like really like truly served would actually understand. Like I really have understood like when I got back from my mission. So I'll go into that. I know that's going to be that part of it too. But when I got back from my mission, there's a funny little tidbit about this. Got off the airplane, greeted my family and everything. Walked to my mom's car. I get on the driver's side because I'm just so used to getting on the driver's side of the car. And then when I gave my talk, um, people did not understand a word I was saying. I was literally using every little bit of slang, and I was talking a mile a minute. Everyone was like, I didn't understand a word you were saying most of the time, but your accent was cool. And
Yeah.
some of the words you're using is cool. And I, you know, I really miss that I lost that accent. I really miss that I lost all that. But the things I didn't lose were my memories. And things that I didn't lose were the relationships I have with companions and people I served around, like Zack and Bryce and Jack and Zack. I served around you guys for quite some time, and most of those memories, like some of them I forgot, some of them I didn't. But the ones I didn't forget are the ones that obviously impacted my life for the better. Yeah, I live alone. I live by myself. I don't have my kids. But in all essence, going to the temple and then reminiscing on even the fact that sometimes I get a name that I do in the temple that is from sometimes I had one from Ayrshire, Scotland. I had one from Kilmarnock. I had one from Galashiels. Like, so people reading those, you're just like, oh, cool, Scotland. To me, I don't know. You probably understand coming from where I'm coming from with it, but getting and seeing those names and getting to see that they're from Scotland and certain parts of Scotland that maybe I didn't even serve in, like it just holds that much more of a special place to know that, like, I'm still doing work regardless. I'm not even on my mission anymore. I'm still doing work for Scott and still doing that work that's required of us to really understand that the work still goes on regardless if you're not serving around missionaries anymore. You still have a responsibility and all that to really kind of remember where your place is in all this work.
Yeah, definitely. I know, remembering you when I found out, you were going to join us on this show, I'm kind of excited because we served around each other a lot. And I know you went through like some hard situations on your mission, but your attitude, you were always smiling, always cracking a joke.
1 second, Bryce. 1 second. Got to turn the light on.
Yeah, we can't see you anymore.
Yeah. Sorry, it's.
You mean the sun's going down?
Sun in California is going down. Doesn't go down until like what is?
Yeah.
What is it? It's 8:00. But yeah, no. Go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah, I just remember your positive attitude, like always having a smile and being willing. you you always ask me, like, you ask me about, like, what's your favorite car? Who's your favorite band? Uh, all this stuff. Um, and like more than just a fellow missionary, you were a friend in Scotland.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, for me, coming into Peterhead, I was a little overwhelmed because it was still so new, and I was just waiting for people to continue to take the mick out of me and make me look small because I don't know, I felt small even though I was not small in stature. But I agree with what Jack said that in the consistent moments that I've come across you, Scott, both on the mission and since then, whether it was at reunions or just running into one another in places, I've always felt that brotherly love that you've shown very, very graciously. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, another thing too, I forgot to mention, I did serve with Elder Zinkowski for a minute,
Oh, yeah.
and I want to put it out there for everyone that doesn't understand what's going on with him. I've reached out to him several times over the last little while since everything's been going on in Ukraine. Um, we always butted heads. And I love that guy to death. Don't get me wrong. We did butt heads a lot. We didn't agree on a lot of things, but he did humble me in ways on certain things. But Elder Zinkowski, he always corrected me with that. He always told me, "No, it's Elder Zinkowski." But he right now he is a man.
He's a savior walking among the people.
You
It's
took the words out.
unbelievable.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Like that guy.
Man,
Like I honestly believe that he is. The veil is very thin with that man. Um, I watched. It was hard for me to watch some of the videos that he posted. Um, I consider everyone I serve with a brother, like a family blood brother. I really do. And to see what he has had to endure and to go through over the last several months was hard for me. Like I reached out to him sometimes. I asked him, "Hey, Andre, are you doing okay? Is there anything I can do for you?" I've even like donated the little bit of money that I have. I've donated for him to to help with his causes. Like he goes out and delivers groceries to elderly people that aren't even members of his church or not even people that he knows. He just goes out and delivers all this stuff to them without even thinking for one split second about himself. Not even for probably doesn't even think about it. He just does it. And to know that he is blessing so many lives over there and putting himself in harm's way. I mean, some of the videos he's showing, like bombs are going off right next to him as he's driving. I mean, that man is, I'd say, probably the most Christ-like person that I have met in my life. He is not about himself. He is thinking of other people and doesn't even ask for anything in return. I mean, from what I know, he hasn't even asked for money donations. People have just been like pouring out, "Hey, we want to donate this. We want to do this," but he's just, you know, and 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 Andre, if you're watching this, I love you, brother, and I'm so proud of you what you're doing, and I know everyone on this podcast is proud of you as well, and everything that you're doing. But I know the Lord's been blessing you, and it continues to bless you with what you're doing. You're an angel, and we appreciate you. But
the
but yeah,
amazing thing, real quick, Scott,
yeah,
for me is that apart from just being friends with him on Facebook, I hadn't been following any of the stuff that he was doing on Instagram. But I had someone who saw what he was doing and then heard that he had served in Scotland that sent me a message and said, "Do you know this guy?" And when I pulled it up, I was like, "Of course I know that guy." And so it's been really quite fascinating to watch what he's doing, and he's just, I don't know, like you said, one of the most Christ-like people, and just to see the positivity that he continues to bring to his small community in a nation that's in complete turmoil is really uplifting to see.
Yeah, it's been a missionary opportunity for me too. Because even at work, I mean, I don't really talk much about church at work just because I work around a bunch of guys that really don't care about church too much. It's just, law enforcement's kind of been a game changer for me, where I've tried to kind of be the example at work, and people know. But one day I just blurted out, and I was showing people, "Hey, check this guy out." I'm showing people at work videos of him and showing them what he's doing over there, and like, he's crazy. I'm like, "Yep, but that's the guy I know, man. That's just him." Like, he was crazy on his mission, but he was a gentle giant too, all at the same time, and he still is. And to see all these, like, families he's touching. I mean, it's not even. And if I remember right, he was on a news channel or something that they recognized him for all the efforts that he's doing. And it's just, makes you proud that you know him, but at the same time, like, it just goes to show you that the Lord works in other ways rather than just missionary work. It's other stuff that's not even things that you would even think it would have been even happening at the time. So,
Yeah, absolutely true.
but no, and then even when I got back from mission, people were asking, "Did you get a kilt?" I'm like, "Of course I did." And the last time I wore my kilt, which was probably one of the greatest honors I had, was to my grandpa's funeral. My grandpa was very into our heritage, very into me serving my mission over there. When I left on my mission, it still breaks my heart to this day. He told me how proud he was of me, um, and to represent the family name to go over to Scotland. It meant that much to him, um, to see that, and to see that I was going to live a legacy to serve over there. And when he passed away, before he passed away, he said that he wanted the bagpipes played at his funeral. Didn't say that he wanted me to wear my kilt, but I just had a feeling before he passed away that I needed to wear my kilt. And I asked my dad, and my dad said, "Absolutely." I figured out the whole arrangement of having the bagpiper come to his funeral. The military was already going to be there because he served in the Navy. He was in the Battle of Midway, and so he served in that war. And so the Navy came to do the taps and to retire colors for him and everything. But if any of you don't really know in this podcast about law enforcement, whenever I go to a funeral, the bagpipes and drums are always played. And I'm like my dad, so I'm sorry guys if I cry a lot, but it's just I get that from my dad a lot, especially when things touch me a certain way. But of all the funerals I've been to in law enforcement, the pipes and drums are always played every single time. And Scotland the Brave is played every single time. And I'm not kidding you. Every time I hear that, I'm not thinking, and I'm not being disrespectful, but I have respect that I'm there, and that I'm respecting the person that's fallen. But every time I hear Scotland the Brave on bagpipes, it just, like, fills my heart. Fills my heart to, like, no degree. Like, it feels like my heart is gonna burst out of my chest. It's just those pipes just reminisce something that was years and years ago. What'd you say? It was like 20 years? It's been almost.
Almost, yeah.
Almost, yeah.
And every time that those things are played, it's just my mind goes right back to my mission. It goes back to when I was in Motherwell, when a pipes and drums band practiced every Wednesday night next to our flat. We would open
Wow.
our windows and listen to that every Wednesday night. I did not want to leave that area. No, sorry, it was Kirk and Tillich. But we listened to that every Wednesday night, and it just they practiced, they played, they. So every time I go to a funeral, they play that. But when my grandpa died, we played. They played a solo piper played Scotland the Brave or Praise to the Man. And I say Praise to the Man, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And it also played amazing. He also played Amazing Grace as well, and it was done beautifully. I don't think another piper could have done it more beautiful than that. But I I say Praise to the Man because I love my grandpa, and he was an amazing man. He served two missions. He served a mission in the Philippines and another one in Taiwan, and served in the temple, and was just a great example to me growing up. But I was there in my kilt, head to toe. I mean, everything from the jacket to the vest to down to the ghillie bros and the skin do everything. And my grandma was there, and my grandma was looking at me the entire time. And she told me afterwards, she said, "Your grandpa would be so proud of you." And I'm so proud of you, the fact that you wore that kilt. And I don't know why she said that. I just said my grandma and my grandma. But I think it was more than just my grandma talking. I think it was with everything that I had been through, because this is after I had gotten a divorce. I think it was everything I had going through my mind, and everything I was going through, that I was, I know Heavenly Father was, knew what I was going through, and I think He knew that I needed to hear that. And I don't think it was just because of that, but I think me reminiscing on the fact of the kilt and the pipes and everything for my mission. I mean, I think we can all relate to the fact that even when we went to the military tattoo over there, when we got to go, I mean, that all plays a special part in our hearts. Like, I don't know if you guys have the same feelings whenever you guys hear their bagpipes, but I can tell you, every time like I said, every time I go to a funeral for law enforcement, it rings in my head like the scriptures.
Yeah.
And it's different because, I mean, other countries and other missions, they all have their traditions and their things, but I just think we have something special, especially how Praise to the Man was played after the prophet Joseph Smith was martyred, and how that still plays a special part in church and in the gospel. So
Agreed.
just a lot of memories, a lot of memories, and listening to you guys this last pep podcast, listening to all you guys reminiscing on some of your guys' memories. I mean, it's like you were saying, Jack, about Sister Vriens and the little piggy outfit she wore. Oh, that was just hilarious. But yeah, it's just, man, it's just a lot of memories, just a lot. And
Yeah.
like I said, I have a journal, and I wrote in it every week of my mission. And going through that, just going through all the stuff that I went through, all the experiences I had, like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot
I
of
mean,
good memories.
We
Well, I
can
think that,
definitely relate.
yeah, Jack and I have obviously talked about it, but it really comes down to we were part of a very select group of people that had an opportunity to be in that land, and I think that's why this I'm going to say that the spirit tickled my mind to say to Jack, "Hey, what if we did something like this?" And I'm glad that it's taken off the way it has so far, because that's what it's all about, is it's digging up those memories and the feelings that came along with those memories, and just being able to recollect on people and places and experiences that we couldn't have had anywhere else. It was just a choice place for us to be, and to be together and become part of, a, for lack of a better term, a fraternity of the people that we served with and among in Scotland. So it's been awesome to be with you and have you on tonight.
No, I appreciate you guys doing that. Yeah, when I saw this, I'm like, what podcast? I'm like, I'm not. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but like I lately been listening to a podcast about like some stories of just personal stories of people like going through trials and going through things and how they've gotten through it with everything through the gospel and everything. And then I saw this, I'm like, well, what better podcast is that to talk about mission memories, talk about things that we experience on our missions, and to reminisce about good and bad experiences, as I've talked about tonight.
Yep.
Of all that stuff. But yeah, there was some funny times. We had some good times, and we had some, some real emotional times. And I mean, it just was like, to me, it put a smile on my face. So I do a lot of listening, driving, have a little bit of commute to work, and listening to you guys on the way home and to the experiences. I was brought back to realizing how long it's really been, even though I have like no more hair, and
you're still devilishly good looking. Don't do that to yourself, Scott.
No, it was just different because listening to something different like that on the way home. I'm not gonna lie. I've been having last few weeks have been really hard for me with not being able to see my kids and everything, with my work schedule and everything, and there's been a lot of things that have been really hard for me. And you, Zach, I'm not gonna lie, you definitely were inspired. You definitely were listening to the Spirit at the right time, both of you and Jack. It takes both of you to put all this stuff together, but it made my mindset a lot different, and it helped me really realize the direction of my life, where it's going, and where I need to be. And I can't tell you how grateful and blessed I am that you guys have reached out and done this and started this, and that have invited me on the night to share my experiences and my weak emotions.
It's all good. We love you, Scott.
Oh,
yeah,
we're glad you joined us.
We love you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and one thing to keep in mind too that we've talked about is, if you have any of your former companions that you want to share this with, definitely do that. We've also floated out the idea too that if you have any particular companions that you'd like to be an honorary co-host for when they come on, we could certainly arrange that in the future too. So
yeah, no, if any of my companions, again, I'll reach out to right now, but if any of my companions want to reach out to me and do a co-host, I would absolutely love to do that. I love being able to meet up with people that I haven't seen in a while, and in all honesty, like, I would love to hear from Elder Brown. All my companions are my favorites, but Elder Brown and I had a great time together, and I know he's got himself a little family. And Elder Brown, Zach, if you're out there, man, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to get you on this podcast.
There you go. I think that's the second time he's been called out, so we'll have to get him on.
I think you're right.
That'd be awesome.
Well, and Jack mentioned while we were talking about Elder Briner that he's one that we should definitely be talking to, because
absolutely,
I think that would be fun. Again, a lot of the people that you mentioned were people beyond my time in the mission, but nonetheless, the ones that you did mention that I knew of were solid missionaries, and you had a good group.
Yeah, Elder Mace is another one I would love to hear from as well. I haven't heard from that guy in a while. I know it'd be kind of hard to get a hold of him, but if he ever gets a hold of...
Is this the lean Mace or the big Mace?
Big Mace.
Okay.
Christopher Mace.
I see him posting stuff on Facebook all the time, so
and
he's got to be on there.
And if he's listening, I still have his football jersey he gave me. That was his personal one that has Mace number 6 on the back.
Oh, man.
Christopher Mace, if you're out there, I would love to get you back on here, and I will show you that football jersey, because I still have it. And I still wear it from time to time. So I still wear it out about here in California, and people look at me like I'm crazy. They don't even know what that what that club is, but I do because you told me all about it.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
That's great. All right. Well, we got to plug our we got our website, www.51spylaw.com. We've got our podcast published now. You can watch it, so you can see Scott's face if you want. That'll be on YouTube, and then we're on all the streaming services now too. So just went live, and we're picking up steam. It's great. So thanks, Scott.
And if you that are listening want to be on the podcast, please send us an email. The email address is SEMpodcast@51spylaw.com. We'd love to have you and get you on our upcoming schedule for people to chat with. We're excited.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
Well,
Scott, thanks again. We appreciate you. Have a good rest of your night. We'll talk soon.
All right, Zach, Jack, it was nice to see you guys. It was a pleasure to be on here. You guys take care of yourselves.
You too.
You as well. Thanks.
Right, love you guys.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.